Today we're flying and experiencing Suites Class on Singapore Airlines A380 aircraft, where we will be spoiled with a cacophony of food and drink, spacious seats and sumptuous beds. This is an experience like no other. Thanks for joining. This is another callumnelson.com video. Welcome to Singapore Changi Airport, where I've just disembarked from my flight from Manila, which you can watch just up there. Today we are connecting at Changi Terminal 3, travelling up to Frankfurt in Germany. While the airport is actually pretty old, the operator has done an excellent job to refurbish the terminals into a welcoming and comfortable space, even if there is an emphasis on luxury shops. It is no surprise that this airport has been Airport of the Year for several years past. Before we go on, and if you want to see more like this, please do like and comment on this video, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. I have tons more videos coming up with similar amazing experiences on Etihad Airways A380-787 first class, as well as Cathay Pacific's 777 first, or more down-to-earth experiences like Air China's A350 economy class. You won't want to miss out. I'm heading up to the relatively new Singapore Airlines lounges at the terminal. As a Singapore Airlines Suites passenger, I have access to the private room, which can be considered on a similar status to British Airways Concorde room. First class passengers travelling on Star Alliance airlines such as Lufthansa can access the Silvercrest First Class Lounge. Singapore Airlines and Star Alliance business class passengers can go into Silvercrest Business Lounge, and finally, Star Alliance Gold status holders can use the Silvercrest Gold Lounge. Singapore Airlines should really change their naming scheme, because here silver is definitely worth more than gold. The private room is an exquisite sanctuary for first class passengers. The airline have invested heavily into this new lounge design with classy artwork, feature crystal lights and a beautiful colour palette. The lounge itself is a large rectangle room that has been primarily split into private areas to provide the discerning passengers with privacy prior to their flights. Towards the rear of the space is the dining room, where I spent most of my time, with a large cellar of wines and champagne, as well as a barista coffee bar. An extensive menu is available during their operating hours. If you're transiting outside these times, you can head to the first class lounge instead, which is open 24 hours a day. I started a meal with a glass of Comte's champagne, poured excellently by the serving staff, who were brilliant and a lot nicer than the front desk staff I encountered. This was followed by a serving of Wagyu satay, a Japanese beef twist on Singaporean style satay, which I may have ordered more of, in addition to shao mai dumplings. For main, I opted for laksa alongside a curry and rice, plus some more Wagyu. Then dessert, some ice cream. All of the food was great, but I found this lounge to be a little bit stuffy and uptight. I'm not sure why this is. Perhaps it was just a bit too quiet or too formal. It's definitely by no means a bad lounge, but I just can't put my finger on what made me not enjoy it as much as, say, Cathay Pacific's lounges. I finished my visit with a trip to the shower rooms to freshen up after encountering the sweaty weather in Singapore. They use high quality fittings, expensive branded amenities, real Toto Japanese washlet toilets, and have excellent ventilation so the rooms don't become like a sauna. These are a real winner, and thankfully, bar a few changes, are very similar in the business class lounge. As we were approaching boarding, I headed down to the gate to board this flight to Frankfurt, and it was quite a mess. Queues before security and a messy gate area, it was not the best start to Singapore Airlines' ultra premium experience. Anyway, we got through it despite feeling a little bit stressed, and then it was time for an AvGeek's wet dream. Singapore Airlines Suites Class on the Airbus A380 to Frankfurt. 12 hours of absolute pure luxury. I was shown to my suite by one of the excellent crew where the seat was set up. The seat is uber spacious and way more than a single passenger could ever need. Here's the angle from the other side of the suite. And here's one encounter I had with the excellent crew on this flight offering a drink and the included sleep amenities.
My name is Joe. I'll be working here today. Joe. Okay, I'll let you set it down.
Great, thank you so much.
Can I give you a drink?
Could I have a champagne, please?
Dom Perignon or you have to have Dom?
Dom Perignon, please. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you?
Amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's okay. But
Great, thank you.
That left the sleeper socks and shade for you.
Great.
Would you like to change to be more comfortable? I have like the sleeper suit with pajamas.
Yes, please.
Yeah, what size would you like?
A larger size if possible.
Okay, medium or L? L maybe?
Maybe L, yeah.
Or
Thank you. I decided to settle on a glass of Dom Perignon champagne before takeoff, a wonderful way to begin this journey. To get a little bit more comfy though, I headed to one of the 2 dedicated bathrooms to Suites Class to put on the pyjamas. These are huge, but don't feature a shower like Etihad and Emirates A380, but are chock full of amenities including Lalique moisturiser and facial mist, hairbrushes and more. I've no idea what these stalls are for though. Back to the seat, and there's a sizable wardrobe with hanger for your clothes and enough space for a sizable suitcase. I sat down and prepared for takeoff as the beautifully made safety video and orchestral music played. Now we're in the air, let's explore the suite some more with a seat tour. On the window side is a long storage area for small items that you can carry on your travel. These are split into 3 separate sections, with the centre one featuring a mirror with light I struggled to open. Next to this was a pair of Bang & Olufsen H9i noise cancelling wired headphones, which you certainly cannot take off this plane. These are the headphones I used to have, and they are excellent in terms of sound quality. Not heavy on bass, but balanced, well-tuned sound from the Danish audio equipment manufacturer, and befitting of this classy experience. For sanitation, they provide disposable covers which don't distort the quality. At the end of the window area is the first of 2 key button zones for suite controls. Below this is a tap to pay section, international power outlet, USB-A port, HDMI input, all of which is covered by a fancy little sliding door. Above this is a detachable tablet that can be used to interact with the in-flight entertainment system and play entertainment directly here. On the left of the main seat is an audio output for easy distribution of sound. Above this in the armrest are the seat controls, which allow almost limitless swiveling of this seat to adjust whatever part of the suite you want to face, whether that's the TV or to do some view spotting out of the window during daylight hours. The seat goes into a cozy lounger position, but not fully flat, since you have a dedicated bed for that. And here is the TV positioning into place for when you're at the seat. Perfect for relaxing or when you're eating a meal. They really have thought of everything with this product. The windows have a 2-stage blind. The first, closest to the exterior, is a regular automated blackout shade, while the second, closest to the passenger, is more akin to a privacy or dimming blind. Pretty cool to watch if you ask me. Back to that closet, and you can really see how much space you get in here. More than enough for them large winter coats you might need on visiting Europe. The suite door, while I don't have the exact height, was about the same as me at 188 centimeters. It's sturdy and tall, providing exceptional privacy, while the pattern enables cabin crew to check on the passengers to meet aviation safety standards. The doors themselves are manual though, so some marks off there for Singapore Airlines. I then took a flick through the hefty menu, full scans of which can be found at the end of the video, and began the meal service with warm nuts, another glass of champagne, water, and why not a third drink in Coke Zero, because I simply didn't know what mood I was in. The starter was chilled colossal caviar with bellinis and condiments, served alongside bread as a side. Super tasty and something I wish I could eat more of. Next was a second appetizer of Balik smoked salmon, pretty unnecessary after the caviar, but of course I ate it anyway. For main, I used the pre-booking book the cook service on the Singapore Airlines website to order the lobster, a signature of the airline. While it did taste great and the lobster was excellent, in all honesty, it was probably a little bit too rich for me. Finally, for dessert, I chose the chocolate marquise with caramelized peanut, extremely tasty with the orange sorbet offsetting the deep chocolate flavour of the marquise. I settled down despite a super full stomach, checked out the other bathroom which was marginally smaller, and within a few minutes the crew had prepared the bed with a delightfully firm mattress. This flips out from the edge of the suite when required and is just shy of 2 meters long. That bedding is made by Lalique, who also curate the Amenity Kits, which have come in various forms over the years. These attractive faux leather bags are stocked full of premium lotions as well as eau de toilette, something you don't expect in an Amenity Kit. I still use this premium bag to this day for my various cables when travelling. In addition to the amenity bag, you get a pair of socks and eye mask which match the black pyjamas. The crew also showed me other variations of the Amenity Kit that would be used for women, but one is for the Singapore-Frankfurt flight and the other is for the Frankfurt-New York flight, which this aircraft goes on to fly. Watching entertainment on this flight was a delight with a 32-inch touch-enabled screen, despite being quite far away. It's much easier to control on the tablet. Regardless, there is an extensive selection of television from all corners of the globe, including 4 series box sets and tons of films to watch. Unlike my previous regional flight on the A350, there is an interactive flight mapping system in the form of Voyager 3D by Panasonic that is great to watch throughout the flight. Singapore Airlines A380s also have cameras on board, but due to mostly being a night flight, I didn't actually bother to capture anything. The IV and tablet can also control the whole suite lighting, important because there's so many parts of the suite to light up. Finally, if you're wondering, yes, you can hook up your laptop to do extreme XL editing at 30,000 feet if that's your thing. Though I did bring my own HDMI cable, I'm not sure if the airline have them on hand to provide to guests. With the bed set up, I tried to do some cringe YouTube thumbnails and of course failed. If you're travelling one of the first 2 rows in suites, the divider between the 2 does come down for couples to sleep together, but no funny business of course. I managed to get my head down for a good 6 to 7 hours and felt refreshed when doing so. The bedding felt like a dream. I woke up as we were around 2.5 hours from Frankfurt, somewhere across the Middle East. Just don't ask me where. Even though I'd not done much to work off the bevy of calories from the night before, it was time for breakfast. Starting with a light assemblement of fresh fruit, a trio of drinks in the form of water, orange juice and a well-made illy cappuccino, as well as a croissant that tasted freshly baked. The main dish was formed as Singapore Airlines' signature dish, which I'd had just 12 hours prior in the lounge, the sumptuous satay. Almost as good as the lounge, although the flavour was not quite as deep as on the ground. After the breakfast, I gave the crew a short compliments letter because of how lovely they all were, and they kindly gave me 2 of these Singapore Airlines teddies. A lovely gesture from the crew on that day and something that sits in my office still today. One final visit to the bathroom to get changed. With the sun rising, I positioned my seat towards the window so I could watch the brightening European skies come into view. This was an incredible experience that is matched by very few airlines globally. Absolutely astonishing. So what was my final thoughts on Singapore Airlines Suites Class? For me, it is going to be one of the best aviation experiences in commercial aviation that you can get anywhere across the globe. Maybe only beaten by the residents on Etihad's A380. But then I personally would say that this probably beats it for most travellers. Firstly, the suite design. You have an excellent recliner bed, tons of space, even if some like the excellent flip-flop travellers say it's not a particularly efficient use of space, and a really comfortable bed which could fit someone of my height, 188 centimetres, easily into. But the more important thing, and while that is excellent, is clearly going to be the other features of the product. The amazing duvet, which was super soft, the excellent food, the sumptuous drinks options, including the very vintage Dom Pérignon champagne. But the most important part of it was clearly the cabin crew. They took this up a notch from being an excellent to an exceptional experience, whether that was from boarding, being taken to the seat called Mr. Elsden, all the way through to disembarkation. They were chatty, they were approachable, helpful in every way, and of course they did give me a couple of teddy bears, as you can see here, and another one in the background. But not only that, they were just really good at their job, and they are a credit to the airline, and I really think that they made it the great experience that it was. That being said, the experience wasn't all perfect in the air. I think it was near as you could be to perfect. On the ground, Singapore Airlines have got a lot of improvement, I would say. So as a whole, I would say that the ground experience of Singapore Airlines isn't quite up there with their competitors, particularly Cathay Pacific, who have some excellent lounges. While the private room is a very beautifully designed space and very well appointed, with a great selection of food and drinks, as well as barista-made coffee, it just doesn't have a match for Cathay Pacific's first-class lounges at Hong Kong, who Singapore Airlines are going to be competing with for a lot of first-class connecting traffic. Ultimately, for me though, the biggest problem with the lounge was you've got this big rectangle room, no natural daylight coming in, and there's not really much you can do in a rectangle. They've tried to break up the space to make it more private areas, and it does work, but the whole place just feels a little bit soulless ultimately, and for me it just doesn't have the same appeal as what Cathay Pacific's lounges do, and frankly I just prefer their design. On top of that, I found the staff on the front desk were a bit frosty, albeit the staff in the lounge were very good. And I did have one small, I wouldn't call it an incident, but I was basically questioned by one member of staff in the lounge area asking what I was doing there, which clearly I had my ticket, as you can see here, for Suites Class, and I was allowed in there, but clearly she didn't think I was meant to be there. But I'll leave that one to one side. The bigger issue though is, in my opinion, the boarding process, and this is a wider issue with Singapore Changi Airport. The fact being that apart from the newest terminal, which I think is Terminal 4 where Cathay Pacific operate from, all of the security checks are done at the gate. So you get to your gate, you go for a security lane, and then you're in the actual gate area. Usually there's no toilet. Sometimes there might be a vending machine and water, not always guaranteed. But the design means that you are limited to maybe one, maybe two scanners at gate. That's okay for if you're boarding a smaller aircraft, but when you're boarding like the whale of the sky, the A380, that is a lot more difficult, and it meant queues both before the security at the gate, and then after you had this like sort of mess of a gate where people were getting around. And this isn't all down to Singapore Airlines, because they obviously don't operate all the ground staff, that's with the airport itself. They just need to improve that system of making sure that there's a priority for premium passengers, because ultimately you're paying for a better experience than economy and premium and business. But that would not be enough to put me off flying it again. But the caveat with that being, it's very expensive to fly this now. I'm not going to go down the route and say this is $10,000 business class, because frankly, you know, I'm not going to spend it. I'm not going to put that on my thumbnail for clickbait, because I want to be honest and not disingenuous with my viewers, unlike some YouTubers. Me personally, I spent 242,500 KrisFlyer miles from Manila to Singapore in business, connecting onwards to Frankfurt in Suites Class. Frankly speaking, that is a lot of points, particularly in a scheme like KrisFlyer. I would personally not say it's worth it. It's an amazing experience and I would recommend to try it. But for me personally, I just don't think it's worth it when you could get maybe 1.5 round trips from Asia to Europe for the same amount of points on Singapore Airlines in business class. However, there was one sort of swaying factor for me at the time. So 2021, 2022, Singapore Airlines had this promotion called Status Without Flying. And if you moved across 250,000 points from credit cards and banks to Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer, you would get the points, but you'd also effectively get the equivalent of tier points to get Star Alliance Elite Gold status with Singapore Airlines. I got that flight from Manila to Frankfurt in business and first, and I also ended up getting 2 years worth of gold status in Singapore Airlines. So for me, that sweetened the deal a bit, but would I spend 250,000 points on it again? Probably not, although the taxes were very cheap at $40. So now you've seen what I think of it. What do you think of it? Do you agree with me that it's too many points, too much money? Do you think it's worth every single penny? Please do drop a comment down below. I'll be there responding to them, seeing what you guys think. I'd love to have a bit of a debate and get some opposing opinions. Whilst you're also down there, be sure to like, subscribe, click that notification bell. Next week we're coming down to earth with a bit of a bump. We are flying Cathay Pacific economy class from Taipei to Hong Kong. I hope to see you then. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. And in the meantime, stay up to date by watching some of my other videos and heading to callumelson.com to read all your travel articles. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.